Hello everyone, I'm Mike D'Angelo with That's Entertainment, and this is your video review of Balloon Fight by Nintendo. During the home console explosion of the 80s and 90s, there was a good amount of arcade conversion as well as game copying, or as the developers might call it, imitating. Back in 1984, Nintendo performed the sincerest form of flattery with Versus Balloon Fight, the precursor to its NES counterpart, Balloon Fight, which showed up on the system during its second year. The game that it was a derivative of was Joust, which had its own impressive history. But while Joust's creator, Williams Electronics, was a cozy little developer, Nintendo was a gigantic superpower in the industry. Was Nintendo's advent into this type of game a worthy enough departure from the original game it emulated? Balloon Fight was a game that didn't waste time with story, though at the same time, neither did its imitated competition. You knew exactly what the very basic plot was. Pop the balloons of other fighters, or fall from the sky as a victim. Instead, the game relied on its gameplay to clearly set the stage. In Balloon Fight, your objective was to eradicate your competition. While you prepared with 2 balloons to give you the jump on your opposition, the enemy balloon fighters had a single balloon each that they brought to the battle. Of course, they also had the foresight to pack a parachute and a pump to get their balloons inflated once more. Who's the idiot now? The game also had several other means of killing you, aside from a traitorous friend, including strikes from lightning, a menacing fish, and the icy touch of the water at the bottom of the screen. The flapping mechanic was made more difficult when you lost one of your balloons, or when you happened to bump into one of the game's flippers, which sent you flying in another direction. Being that this was right around the arcade craze, you were mostly trying to amass points. To this end, the bonus stage, where stray balloons flew about from the pipes, was a decent way to keep you in the game. Balloon Fight also had a secondary mode that wasn't so much about competition with a friend or other computer fighters, but rather endurance. Balloon Trip tasked the players with navigating their way through a spark-filled journey, collecting balloons along the way. In this mode, collecting a bubble that floated up above the water would freeze the sparks briefly, allowing you a safer way to collect any points that were available to you. For its time, Balloon Fight didn't look like too bad of a game. Granted, there was very little that set it aside from level to level, besides a different shade of color for the ground, the other fighters, or their balloons. It was serviceable for what it tried to do. The music, on the other hand, was able to wear on you after a while. The main theme of the versus portion of the game is almost ambient squeaking of flapping wings, which will change if an opponent is sinking to the ground below. To that end, it's helpful in letting you know what exactly is transpiring. Other brief sounds you might hear are the pops of balloons and bubbles, the theme of the dreadful Leviathan that springs from the water if you draw too close, and the sweet sound of victory. The catchiest of the songs within Balloon Fight most definitely comes from its bonus stages or Balloon Trip. Again, the music isn't the best of the time, but for what the game is, it manages. Considering Balloon Fight has a nameless protagonist, it actually has a fairly steep legacy. Oh, you didn't know? Among some of the most impressive feats is its Game Boy sequel, Balloon Kid, which actually had some semblance of a story, its wacky spiritual successor, Tingle's Balloon Fight for the Nintendo DS, and its huge presence in the Smash Bros. Series. In fact, did you know that we almost had the Balloon Fighter instead of the Ice Climbers? It's true. If you listen to some of the alternate Ice Climber stage music, you can even hear the Balloon Trip song. As another nod to this classic game, in the upcoming Smash Bros. Games, the villager from Animal Crossing has a move inspired from the Balloon Fighter. One of the things that really sets games today, aside from yesteryear, was the achievement of them. Back then, you did the same thing on repeat just to see your high score. These days, most people won't do anything unless a little notification pops up on their screen for a little virtual pat on the back. Good job, Roger. You spent all day collecting carrots for a fake trophy. That's silver. In their own way, games like Balloon Fight were some of the cream of the crop back when. Though it didn't really present you with a story or too many new experiences, the game just worked. Back then, maybe that was enough.